Bonjour, my name is Troy Howes, and I'm from, well, from Fond du Lac here, and I live in Superior.
Bonjour, Zangwei de Mokindishna Kaza Jibwemon, Mikanakin Dudame is Kwadikang and Dunjba. My English name is Amanda Horton. My spirit name is Like the Sound of Thunder. I am from Red Cliff, Wisconsin, and I currently live in Superior.
I'm a drum instructor. I teach the boys how to sing.
You actually teach the girls too.
And the girls.
He actually teaches the girls too.
What else?
I pretty much do the language and culture piece for, we do it together, but I kind of coordinate it between all of there's 8 different schools in Superior. So we pretty much take care of it at all levels, the elementary, middle school, and then the high school level. So, and then we do the Native Youth Club, which is like an after school program. And some of our events and our cultural things roll over into the summer. Like this camp is an example of that. So, Bungi at Goninata Anishna Bam. But I actually was going to Lake Superior College in Duluth, and I went for my associate's degree and had no idea what I wanted to do afterwards. And I was just walking around one day and I seen a flyer for the Native Teachers Program at St. Scholastica in Duluth. And it was a program that was geared towards, I don't want to say single mothers, but a lot of the people in the program were single mothers with children. And it was a grant-funded program that basically you did like a 4-year language and culture education degree. So when you would finish it, you would be teaching the language and the culture. And you would do it in 3 years. So it was kind of a fast-paced program. You basically would do what other people did in 4 to 6 in 3. So I ended up writing a letter of intent or a letter of interest and applying, and I got basically a full scholarship there. And that's kind of where my language journey began. So, how about for you?
Well, it started, me learning the language, it started, I was, 10? And just being around the elders, around the drum. That's where I've learned, so, especially like with the elders speaking, the songs with the Ojibwe Mon. Because there's a lot of songs with Ojibwe Mon, and they're just being around that.
Yeah, I would say I heard the language when I was little, around like my great-grandparents and my great-aunties and uncles. They would use it, but only in small phrases. They were, my grandma was put into a boarding school with her brothers and sisters fairly young, so she didn't talk a lot about her childhood, and she didn't speak a lot, but she'd use simple phrases, and we would attend a lot of cultural events and stuff, but we would also go to church twice a week, so it was a pretty normal Native American upbringing, as far as being a product of boarding school era and things like that. But, we all knew what boogin meant, My favorite childhood memory just always revolved around my grandma. She worked in Cass Lake for most of her life. Her job was, she was like a land surveyor, and she worked to reobtain native lands that were taken away. And she lived in Bemidji, and at one point in our childhood we had moved there, and I was just like enamored, in love with my grandmother. Loved spending time with her any possible chance I could. And she was a smart lady, somebody I really looked up to, and so and she's the one who kind of like brought us into the culture. She was the one who kind of connected that piece of us for us. And so anything from being little and going to powwows and just being around the table, having coffee, eating together, just talking about, hearing about their upbringing and how they grew up. And I really liked just learning how to be a good person from her. Like, we had very strict rules when we were kids, like, be seen and not heard. Don't talk when an adult is talking. Don't be in adult conversation. Just things. But there was also like a lot of love too. And sometimes I feel like that's missing these days with some of the kids' upbringings. And I feel like it's a little bit harder these days in the society that we're in. Everything's so much more fast-paced, and our children today they're into that instant gratification all the time. So we're kind of we have a whole new challenge before us right now with the young people today. I think, even when we're trying to get them to sit down and drum or, do a project, like they want to do it, but then when they get into it, not all of them, but some of them, if it's difficult right away, they want to quit, like their ability to stick through things is a little bit different, I feel, for this generation. They want to know it right away, or they don't want to deal with it. And they want to know how to do it, but they don't want to learn how to do it, and just patience is a little bit askew these days. So it's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just being around elders, though, that's probably my favorite memory, because a lot of my family's passed on now, so I'm turning into the elder.
Yeah, same here. I don't know. My dad was pretty much my leader. He taught me a lot. He's passed on now too, but when he was alive, he taught in the Superior School District too. Taught everybody how to make pipes and.
Great storyteller.
Yeah,
super
great.
Good
He
storyteller.
wrote stories.
Mm-hmm.
I still got some of his stories he wrote. He taught the kids how to make dream catchers, kinnick. A lot of projects or activities,
Mm-hmm. Superior's a little bit different. We have a smaller tribally enrolled population. We have a lot of students that are Native or are tribally associated, but their blood quantum isn't enough. Blood quantum has become an issue with a lot of our students, therefore identity has become an issue with a lot of the students. They're trying to seek this identity and this sense of pride, but all these governmental stipulations kind of hinder that process a little bit. And for us, we're not on a reservation. We're an hour and a half to 45 minutes away from every reservation. And we actually operate under Fond du Lac's Lake cohort, but it's even a struggle to get the school to approve us to come over here and do these things. Like we've been proposing this particular trip for 2 years, and we finally got the administration to agree to let us bring the students up here this year for the first time. So, and it's been a success. The kids, we brought like 13 or 14 kids. I don't even remember. Hopefully we're not missing one.
Right.
And they're just having the most fantastic time. I see a lot of me as a kid in them right now. They're running around, they're dirty, and they're playing, and they're, and they're around elders, and they're spending we were lucky enough, we had some parents come with us, which we are lucky. We have had a core group of parents that have really come through for us this year in a number of different ways, and who actually came up here with us this week. And it's just amazing to see them being able to spend time with their kids, and relax and just have fun and laugh, and it's given us a chance to teach some things too outside of the classroom. Like we've been trying to every night do like a talking circle with them, and just have them kind of recall like what they're doing throughout the day, what they're learning, what kind of Ojibwe mowing they're hearing, their understanding of those things. Try to explain too, like it's not, being Indian isn't a craft project, this is all like a part of everything's intertwined. You know, the culture, the language, the food, just being together, humor, like all these things that they're witnessing and seeing up here. We're just trying to just kind of help them internalize that a little bit. And I mean, I see it. They're appreciating every ounce of what's. I mean, we've had multiple hugs this week. Thank you for bringing us up here, you know, and that just feels so good, you know, because it is for them. It's not for us, you know, it's for them. And you kind of hope that you're setting a little spark that's going to kind of light a fire in them to keep trying to follow this path and this journey, you know. We just got the kids these sweatshirts this year. It's the first time they've ever had any sort of, you know, I don't want to say it's not a uniform. What do you call it? I don't know. Any kind of thing that identifies them for who they are as natives in our school. And, you know, the whole thing behind that was just to instill some identity and pride, you know. Being in a predominantly white school, you don't see a lot of, they don't see a lot of themselves anywhere, you know, which is normal. And we're actually lucky. We have a principal down. The principal that we mainly work with, his name is Mr. Flaherty, and he's awesome. He supports pretty much everything that we do. We wanted to do this Native Youth Club and start this drum group, and he was like, okay, you know, and we brought in Running Horse to do a big math thing, and he was like, okay, you know, and then we adopted the Get to Gone program this year and did a teaching garden this year, and he was like, okay, you know. So everything we've done, he's been on board, and it's like really cool. He doesn't participate too much, but he's behind us, which is, that works for me, you know. But yeah, I mean, just trying to incorporate the language in everything we do. I know every time I do a lesson, usually we do it seasonally, like what's going on right now. What is the weather like right now? How are you today? How are you feeling? What do you want to do? You know, what kind of things are we doing right now traditionally, you know? So we do Mano Mini Kiwenz, you know, usually that's one of my first lessons. First, we usually do introduction speeches, teaching them how to introduce themselves in Ojibwe and how to learn their spirit names if they have one, and if they don't, you know, kind of do the teaching that you have one. It just hasn't been sought out yet, you know, because there's some kids who are like, well, I don't have a spirit name, you know, and I'm like, yeah, you do, you know, it hasn't come to you yet, you know, and teaching them how to identify, even if they live in the city, like, where's your family from? You know, are you from Fond du Lac? Are you from Redcliffe? Are you from Canada? Are you from, you know, where are you from? And it kind of opens conversation up between family members too, because they got to go home and talk to their grandparents and their parents about, well, where are we from? And, you know, so it just starts that conversation and creates that relationship and makes that connection. And so usually that's pretty much my first lesson of the year is the introduction speech. And I use the one that I learned from school. I've modified it a little bit and shortened it for the younger ones. Definitely just want them to know their names and their clans and, you know, what reservation they may come from. And then, just kind of follow the seasons from there, you know. We did a really cool trip this year. We had a cultural trip. We did a snaring and trapping trip. And that was really neat. Two elders that have been kind of helping us this year, Mary and Mark McConnell, they kind of put together an event for our kids out around their place, which is kind of out on South on 35, like towards past South Superior. But it was really cool. And we did all kinds of stuff with that. But every time we do something like that, the language is there. And if we don't know it, we got to figure it out. And just try and use it as much as possible around the kids. Have them repeat it. Your coworker, he was asking us, well, what about songs? Songs are good. I feel like kids pick up the language, especially little ones, really well if you're singing a song or get them singing a tune. You know. I also do a lot of TPR because kids have a hard time sitting still. So anytime you can get them moving and using the language, you know, I used to do songs and they wouldn't be able to remember the words until they did the action, you know, just simple things like that. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't, I don't know, just this Kiwenz language, this camp, a lot of our students, I asked them, like, last night we had our talking circle before they went to bed, and I was like, you guys having fun? Like, yeah. I was like, would you want to come back? Yeah. They're all excited.
Yeah.
You know, and like Amanda was saying, you know, we have them form a circle to talk about what they made, you know, what they learned, all that. And yeah, they really enjoy it out here now. And they really liked yesterday when that, what was her name, Simone?
Yeah,
was
Simone.
here.
We were having
She was
dance
dancing,
party.
you know?
Yeah, they were loving that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty.
Looking for teachable moments too, you know, like teaching about respect, you know, the 7 grandfather teachings, you know, truth, honesty, respect, you know, all those types of things that just help you to grow into a good, decent person. And we've kind of got some teachable moments while we're up here, just little things that the kids are doing, you know, like, you know, just the basic lesson that elders eat first. You know, some students don't know that. Or, you know, offering your sema, you know, being grateful, giving thanks for the day, listening when other people are speaking, you know, misa go. If you hear misa go, because it's important, you know, just teaching them little things that they can use, you know, and just being respectful of each other, taking care of one another, looking out for one another, cleaning up after yourself, pick up the garbage, you know, ne mama aki, take care of her, you know. So just those types of things. And this camp has been a wonderful opportunity to teach a lot of those things, and in a whole different way, because we're here and not there, you know.
Yeah.
So there's still so much that I don't know, and there's still so much that I want to know. But over the past couple of years, I've grown into the idea that everything will come with time, you know. If you're supposed to know it, it will come to you, and when the time is right. And I think that's part of it, patience, you know. And faith and trust, and I know that those are kind of not necessarily the most native terms, but, you know, just trusting that there's a plan. I don't know, that the Creator has a plan for all of us, and I really believe that. I think with kids today, too, focusing more on commonalities instead of differences, I think that's huge. I did a really cool, when I was student teaching, I did a really cool project called the Culture Box. And you'd be surprised how many kids think that they don't have culture, you know? So you had to kind of go through this lesson of what is culture, you know, and what is the microcosm of culture, and what is your school culture, and what is your family culture, and what is your, you know, ethnicity, and the culture that goes with that. And it's just interesting because you'd be surprised how many people don't have a real understanding of what culture is. And it was interesting because they would create these boxes, and they would like decorate them and bring in little, you know, knickknacks and artifacts and things like that, and kind of talk about their culture as they understood it. And it was so interesting to see how many things that people had in common instead of how different that they were, you know. And then we let that be the segue into talking about things like bullying, you know, and discrimination and things like that, you know, and talking about pride. And, you know, you may be a non-native person, you know, we hear Chimokaman a lot, you know, and I even had issues with that. You know, I have children that are even lighter than I am. And, you know, and there was a lot of events and things that, you know, I pretty much have brought them up in the culture. And there were a lot of times when, you know, it was Chimokaman this, Chimokaman that, and it was kind of said in a negative way, you know. And I think if you don't have that understanding of the past, you know, and how that mind frame came about, and you know, how we got where we are, and if you don't have an understanding of our history, I think that could be a confusing term for people, and it can even come off as discriminatory, you know? So I try to really watch myself with things like that. My family was pretty multiracial, so I don't know. We loved all different shapes, sizes, colors, and whatever. You know, my stepdad was Filipino. We had African American cousins. You know, so it was just. But I feel like we're moving beyond that a little bit, though. It's kind of nice to see, like in the schools. It seems like, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it seems like we're not only in a language movement where we're in this like language revitalization and this appreciation of culture, but I feel like young people, maybe race and ethnicity isn't really the issue these days, you know? But I could be wrong about that. Maybe it's just what I'm seeing, you know? But I don't know, treat other people like you want to be treated. I mean, that's really, you know, you don't want to be bullied. You don't want to be called names. You don't want to be, you know, ostracized, ignored, or whatever. Then don't do that to other people, you know? I mean, it's all about being a good person. It may not be common sense, but for everyone, but it should be.